Welcome to the Commander Crew, a Magic the Gathering Commander YouTube channel where we ask the question, who's your commander?
We want to thank you for watching our videos. You can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the bell notification icon.
You can also go to thecommandercrew.com to check out our t-shirts, masks, pet hoodies, and other Commander Crew goodies.
If you want to buy any of the cards seen in this video, be sure to click our TCG Player affiliate link in the show notes below.
Lastly, you can help us out by heading to our official Patreon page and becoming a direct supporter of the channel. Now let's
get to the video.
Oh no.
What's up everyone, it's your boy Eddie from the Commander Crew, and today we are talking about a brand new spoiled commander from Midnight Hunt, and his name is Wilhelt the Rotcleaver. So Wilhelt the Rotcleaver costs 2 a blue and a black for a 3/3 legendary zombie warrior. And he reads, whenever a creature you control dies, if it didn't have Decayed, create a 2/2 black creature token with Decayed. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a zombie. If you do, draw a card. So basically the way that this works is if any other zombie on your battlefield dies at all, you get to make this 2/2 zombie creature token with a new ability called Decayed. So what is Decayed? Basically, the way that Decayed works is anytime you have a creature that has Decayed on it, it cannot block, and after it attacks, at the end of combat, you sacrifice it. So Wilhelt, in my opinion, because it can create so many zombie creature tokens, this might be the best zombie aristocrats commander, period. This card is so good. I mean, look at it and think of it from this point of view. You play any zombie in your deck. You're playing tribal, so you probably have 25 to 30 zombies in your deck. You play a zombie. You sacrifice it. You get another zombie. That is insane. And it's so damn good, especially with that added benefit of being able to draw a card at your end step if you sacrifice a zombie. So he has a little bit of a sacrifice outlet on him. A little bit, but still really, really good. So I'm super excited about this commander. And let's get into our quick take and talk about some of the cards that I feel will go really, really well and what I think is the right way to build around this commander. So first off, we want to talk about putting as many zombies as we possibly can on the battlefield. So some of the ways to go about doing that are typical in zombie strategies. So we have Rise of the Dreadmarn, we have Endless Ranks of the Dead, we have Tombstone Stairwell, which you don't see very often. That's not typically the price tag. You can usually get it 15-20 bucks, but you don't see this card very often. It's just an older card. And I think it's very, very underplayed. And I think the reason for that is people don't like the cumulative upkeep and people don't like giving their opponents creatures. If you're playing a zombie tribal deck, you are going to have a ton of creatures in your graveyard. If your graveyard has a ton of creatures in it, that means you can afford to play a card like this, put as many creatures as you want onto the battlefield, and think of it this way. Your 2/2 zombie creature tokens don't already have Decayed. Wilhelt doesn't say anything about if a non-token zombie dies. It just says if a zombie dies. If it didn't already have Decayed, you can put a zombie with Decayed on the battlefield. So you can play this card out at your next upkeep. You can put a ton of zombies onto the battlefield, sacrifice them all, and create a whole bunch of zombies with Decay. And hit every single one of your value engines that you're benefiting from by sacrificing all of these creatures. So next up we have Death Tyrant. So what I like about Death Tyrant is when you start attacking with those creatures that do have Decayed, you're going to end up having to sacrifice them. And because you're going to have to sacrifice them, when you do that, you create a 2/2 zombie creature. And then if you use any of our sacrifice outlets, you're going to be able to turn that 2/2 zombie creature into another zombie creature with Decayed, just activating more death triggers on any of your other creatures or more value engines on any of your other permanents on the battlefield. This card is great in this deck. Then we have Ghoul Caller Gissa, which is pretty much an auto-include in most zombie decks. But what makes this one so good is you can take one of those Decayed zombies, you can sacrifice them, and make 2 regular zombies. Then you can sacrifice those 2 regular zombies, and with Wilhelt on the battlefield, you make 2 more zombies with Decayed. Again, just triggering all of those different triggers that you have on whatever permanents are on your battlefield, whether they be life loss triggers or card draw triggers or anything else. Then we have Open the Graves, which will do basically the same thing as Wilhelt, but for any of your non-token creatures. So with that, you have a non-token creature on the battlefield, say a Gravecrawler. You sacrifice that, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, and then sacrifice the 2/2 black zombie creature token and make another one with Decayed. It's so good. Zombies just synergize super, super well, and Wilhelt just sets the bar that much higher. Next up, we have Reflections of Littjara. Reflections of Littjara, I feel, is very, very underplayed, at least in my meta. I started playing it in my Varina deck, another zombie deck, but it plays out so well. Every time you start playing those zombies, you make 2 of them. And then sacrificing those zombie tokens later and triggering Wilhelt's ability is just insane. Next up, how do we go about sacrificing things? So first off, we have a card like Attrition, which gives you additional value when you sacrifice. You pay 1, you sacrifice a creature, you can destroy one of your opponent's non-black creatures. Then, of course, we have the OGs. We have Ashnod's Altar. We have Altar of Dementia. We have Phyrexian Altar, which can actually go infinite with some of our other cards. We have Carrion Feeder, which is a nice zombie creature that also has a sacrifice outlet on it. Then we have Nantuko Husk. We have Phyrexian Ghoul, which is the same thing as Nantuko Husk. It's a free sacrifice outlet that'll pump it up. We have Corpse Blockade, again, very similar creature. This one just has Defender on it. Then we have Spawning Pit, which not only is a free sacrifice outlet for all of your creatures, but it can also create more sacrifice fodder. Then we have Blasting Station, which is just an absolute nightmare in this deck for our opponents. You have a zombie on the battlefield that doesn't have Decayed. You sacrifice it, tapping the Blasting Station to deal a damage to one of your opponent's creatures or one of your opponents. And then when the Decayed zombie comes into play, it untaps your Blasting Station so that you can do it again. This is insane. And when you can pair it up with some of the other cards that we're going to talk about a little bit later, it is just broken. Next up, we're going to be sacrificing a lot of our creatures. So we want to make sure that we get some dies triggers in. There are plenty of permanents out there that'll draw you some cards whenever a creature dies, and yes, run them in this deck for sure. But the most important cards that you need to pay attention to and that you want to be running, because you can kill an opponent or all of your opponents very, very quickly with them, are cards like Plague Belcher, which whenever a zombie that you control dies, each opponent loses a life. And we run an entire suite of cards like this. So we have Plague Belcher, we have Diagraph Captain, we have Vengeful Dead. Then, those are pretty much it for the zombies. Then we have our non-zombie cards that do the same effect. We have Blood Artist, Zulaport Cutthroat, Bastion of Remembrance, Falconwrath Noble, and of course Sir Conrad. Sir Conrad's even better in a deck like this because you are going to be bringing back zombies from the graveyard. That's kind of just what zombies do. And when you bring them back to the battlefield, you get to deal more damage. Next up, I'm going to talk about some cards that synergize really well. So, obviously, we got to talk about Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler with Phyrexian Arena goes infinite. And when you throw Wilhelt into the mix, it goes infinite and makes infinite tokens. That's a nice way to be able to kill off your opponents. Obviously, they can't attack right away, but if you have any of those dies triggers, as you're sacrificing Gravecrawler over and over again, you can kill off some of your opponents, or you can use those other creatures for infinite mana. Gravecrawler is just a nightmare when you throw it into a zombie deck for all of your opponents. Another really synergistic card with Wilhelt is Teferi's Ageless Insight. It synergizes with the second ability of Wilhelt's, which is at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a zombie, and if you do, you get to draw a card. Well, with Teferi's Ageless Insight, that turns into drawing 2 cards. Then we have the Trickster God's Heist. So I like this card for kind of a funny reason. You can exchange 2 creatures. So you can take one of your Decayed zombies and swap it out with your opponent's best creature. There are a few cards that are like this, probably 6 or 7 different cards. And they are terrific in this deck because when you start swapping your Decayed zombies for one of your opponent's really good creatures, you're just creating extra value for yourself while hurting your opponent's board because that Decayed zombie, they can't block with it, and if they decide to attack with it, they're going to lose it anyway. Then there's Kindred Discovery. This card goes really, really well, again, with that second ability of Wilhelt's. I like it so much because basically what ends up happening is if you sacrifice one of your zombies that don't have Decayed at the beginning of the end step with Wilhelt's ability, You're going to draw a card, and then Wilhelt will put a zombie on the battlefield that has decayed, and you'll draw another card for that. It's so good. Next up, we have some new zombies. So I threw this name into Google Translate, and it came up as Siege Zombie. So that's what I'm going to call it today. Siege Zombie has an ability on it that is really, really good. It's tap 3 untap creatures that you control, and each opponent loses a life. What makes this so good is you can have 3 zombies on the battlefield, tap all 3 of them, make each opponent lose a life, and then sacrifice them to some of our sacrifice effects that we talked about. And hopefully you have some of those life loss effects on the battlefield, and you're going to be draining your opponents for even more. Stuff like this is so good and underplayed. And especially at only 2 mana, this is something that's probably going to get included in this deck once this set comes out. Then, another card that's been spoiled, Poppet Stitcher. This card is insane with this deck. Let me read through it. So first off, it says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 zombie creature token with Decayed. So that synergizes really well with our commander, right? But then it also says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, you can transform him. And when you transform him, he turns into an artifact that reads, creature tokens you control lose all abilities and have a base power and toughness 3/3. What makes this so good is it effectively goes infinite with your commander. Wilhelt, with this on the battlefield, is insane. You're going to sacrifice your zombies that had decayed, but they lost that ability, right? And became 3/3s. You sacrifice it and make a 2/2 zombie with decayed. But that 2/2 zombie with decayed loses all abilities and has a base power and toughness of 3/3. So you do it again and again, and you just go infinite with this. It's a 2-card combo with Wilhelt that seems crazy. I'm so excited about this card. I love that they printed it in blue. I almost wish that they would have made it a legendary creature, because this would have been a really cool build around. But it's absolutely insane, and it seems so much fun. And it's definitely something that I'm going to be throwing in the deck once this set comes out. Now, there's a ton more that hasn't been spoiled yet, and I'm sure there's going to be an absurd amount of zombies that we're going to want to include in this deck. And when we're building Wilhelt, we'll keep all of those cards in mind once the set officially releases. And that's it for today's quick take on Wilhelt the Rotcleaver. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care. Please don't forget to leave a comment down below, hit that thumbs up icon, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our content, and also check out our website, thecommandercrew.com, where you can support us by signing up to become a patron or using any of the affiliate links listed, such as Your Playmat, where by using our link you can get 10% off custom sleeves and playmats, or buying your MTG singles and collectibles from TCG Player and Amazon, where we get a kickback for all of your purchases. And of course, Teespring, where you can get your custom Commander Crew hoodies, t-shirts, stickers, and even phone cases. You can also chat with us directly on Instagram, Twitter, and in our Discord if you'd like to talk Magic or be a part of any of our future videos. That's all for today, and until next time, take care.